And back to one of our top stories. Following the accident, Impala Platinum's share price plunged by as much as 6% in early trade today. Meanwhile, the Minerals Council of South Africa has released a statement saying it mourns with the family, friends and colleagues of those who died and those who were injured. It says it was able to lend immediate support to Implats by providing specialist rescue teams to the affected shaft. The sector, which has a number of safety initiatives in place, says that the latest incident had been a serious blow to the sector's hope of having lower fatality numbers in the sector than those recorded last year, which numbered 49. Before this incident, the number of deaths for this year had accrued to 41. Sadly, that's gone well into the 50s. The Minerals Council has called on its members to reinvigorate their safety programs and initiatives. Meanwhile, the National Union of Mine Workers has called on the Mineral Resources Department to investigate the cause of the accident. We stay with this and speak to mining analyst and Modern Capital Solution Director of Mining, Peter Major. Peter, thank you so much for your time this evening. How does South Africa compare? I'm sure because the viewers are probably wondering tonight when it comes to the mining fatalities or incidents that we see when we compare the situation globally.
Often we're very near the top, in the top 10, but because accidents have been cut down so dramatically in almost all of the world, and that means even China and Russia now. And China used to kill more people in a year than we ever did in a bad decade. But because the West and South Africa have increased safety so much the last 25, 30 years, that you can have one country fall from number 1 or 2 down to 10 or 12 if they lose 10 people. I know America would go some years with maybe not even a dozen people killed in that whole large country. And then they'd have a coal mine disaster where another 12 people were killed. So now you go from number 1 or 2 in the world down to number 12 because you've lost 12 people. And that's almost how we are now. The fact that we still have 450,000 men on our mines and we're able to keep total deaths below 50, it's a superhuman effort. There's just so many possible ways of being injured, so many possible ways of being killed. And that's why mining shares trade at such huge discounts, because the rest of the world says we'd rather invest in something that doesn't kill anybody.
And what would you say are the main contributors to injuries and some of the deaths in the main?
That's an excellent question. And I'm glad you asked that, because if you look at let's say we average 50 deaths in a year. Almost half those deaths can be related to gross negligence, breaking known rules, sometimes people attempting theft and sabotage. Now, that's a rough rule of thumb, and that's not all years. But nearly the other half are literally acts of God, and that's generally a fall of ground. And we can't predict some of these rock bursts that can demolish a whole level on a mine, can take out a whole haulage, and those are virtually an act of God. This is a mechanical problem, and it's a mechanical failure on literally the most vital piece of equipment on a mine. So this is almost unheard of. It's virtually unprecedented that a hoist can go wrong, because there's so many safety features on a hoist, and it probably gets the best attention, the most attention of any mine is the hoist that takes people underground.
So what would then cause it to cave in or to, lead to what we've just seen?
I don't know. When I keep reading the media releases and I'm trying to piece together, I haven't been able to speak to people who know much more than what the media has been able to get from the company. But the men were pretty close to the bottom of the shaft on the 19 level. They were hoisting up to about the 17 level. And then all of a sudden, instead of going up, the hoist reversed direction, the cage reversed direction, and it started going down. Now that sounds like a runaway hoist. And we can't get runaway hoists. There's so many fail-safe brakes. There's a counterweight that helps hold them in the cage. So First of all, when I heard this accident, I thought it sounds like a broken cable. You know, how else? The hoist can't just turn around and start going the other way. Even if you have a power failure, the brakes slam on. Even if you have a surge, the brakes slam on. Somehow, it sounds like the brakes did not slam on, and it started going the other way. And
so then, pardon me, Peter, then what are your thoughts on this one? Because I know that there's an investigation currently underway, but AMCO is coming out, saying that there's negligence here, and they want, when there's such incidences, they're calling for, the fact that there needs to be stricter punishment that is meted out towards the management, and in the form, they say, of a culpable homicide in some of these particular cases. And I wonder, what are your thoughts on what they've had to say?
that has always been the case. Whenever I started working South African mines in '82, every time there's a death on the mine, the general manager of the mine, even if it was Harmony Gold Mine, 33,000 employees, the general manager was slapped with culpable homicide, and he had to go to court and justify his actions, the mine's actions, what safety had been taking place. So that's always been the case, and most of the world has that. There's definitely going to be an investigation. Everybody wants to know what happened. And we pray that it wasn't some kind of sabotage. We pray that it wasn't gross negligence. And there have been death-causing incidents on mines that are both sabotage and negligence. And some of them are horrible, and I'm not going to relate them here.
Yeah.
We're praying that it wasn't sabotage, that it wasn't gross negligence, that it was some 1 in a million mechanical failure. So those are the three we're going to look at the most.
And very briefly then for you, because we know that the Mine Health and Safety Act is currently under review. We've also been told by the department as well that it should be out for public comment quite soon. Which is the one priority that you believe should be relooked and really be put back in the strongest terms?
Most accidents could be avoided with better communication and interaction between all levels of people on the mine, from the big managers, the medium managers, shift boss miners, and the people below the miners. If everybody talks and works in unison, that will minimize accidents more than any other rule or regulation. Is everybody working and treating each other like family?
Peter, let me thank you for your time. Always a pleasure to get to pick your brain about some of these things that we see in this industry. That is mining analyst and Modern Capital Solution Director of Mining, Peter Major. On that note, we'll bring you more on this during the course of the show, but Oli is coming up next with sport.